Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, as you can see, Bitcoin has gone ahead and retraced about 7% here in the last 24 hours or so. And we're going to jump right on into this video because this doesn't have to do with the technicals that we discussed in yesterday's video where I was talking about a correction on Bitcoin was overdue. I was talking about how Bitcoin was probably going to fall, how Bitcoin was probably going to break an uptrend of support. But the reason I was saying that was based on the technical analysis, based on all of the bearish signals that I've been getting on the chart and from the sentiment. But those didn't really cause this crash that happened around 5 to 6 o'clock yesterday. Bitfinex losing $850 million and using Tether to cover it up did. Guys, we have a lot to get into in today's video, and I'm a little annoyed by this because this kind of stuff is not what we want to see coming out of the cryptocurrency market. This is not good for the image of the cryptocurrency space and the blockchain industry. We're going to go ahead and dive right into this, guys. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it. Bitcoin is currently trading around $5,175, and I suppose it's appropriate that it's raining as the time of recording this video because this is a sad moment for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is down about 7% from where it was trading, around $5,500 yesterday. Good news is Bitcoin is lower, meaning that you get more Bitcoin for your dollar if you want to buy into Bitcoin. Not a bad thing. I would like for Bitcoin to go back down to $4,000 or so before the next bull run starts so that we have more time to accumulate Bitcoin. That all being said, we may not go that low. We'll talk about the technicals later. We're actually going to start this video with the news, as the news more than likely caused the movement in yesterday's price action. This broke yesterday, but a lot of people are talking about it today, including myself. Let's go ahead and dive right into this. New York Attorney General alleges Bitcoin exchange Bitfinex misused Tether to hide $850 million. The Office of New York Attorney General Letitia James has officially obtained a court order to request Bitfinex Inc., the operator of Bitcoin exchange Bitfinex and Tether, to cease operations in New York. The Attorney General's office found that Bitfinex allegedly handed over $850 million in commingled client and corporate funds to Crypto Capital Corp, a company based in Panama. Bitfinex is said to have never received the funds from Panamanian firm, leading to a loss of more than $850 million. As we read on this article, we're going to realize that this was really just a gigantic screw-up by someone's part on inside of Bitfinex, and there was no legal documents or anything saying that. We'll get into it. This is an absolute clown fiesta. This is a real mess. The Attorney General's office alleged Bitfinex granted itself access to Tether's treasury and mismanaged $900 million of the stablecoin's cash reserves to hide the loss of $850 million. If you guys look over here on CoinMarketCap, you'll notice that there's only a couple billion, 2, 3, 4 billion Tether in circulation. So a very large portion of Tether is actually not really being backed anymore because Bitfinex lost $900 million because who even knows what just happened here. Our investigation has determined that the operators of the Bitfinex trading platform, who also control the Tether virtual currency, have engaged in a cover-up to hide the apparent loss of $850 million of commingled client and corporate funds. New York State has led the way in requiring virtual currencies, blah, 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 legal jargon, continuing on. The core problem with Tether is that it does not issue public audits. This is something that I've talked about on the channel many times, and many other YouTubers have discussed at length. A lot of people are they're not very happy with Tether because of things like this, and this is one of the reasons why I very rarely use Tether. I prefer to just keep my money in Bitcoin, and the second I noticed that this story had broken, I moved what little Tether I did have straight into Bitcoin, and I'm very much happy that I did that. I didn't have much. It was actually a payment from for CT2A. But anyway, audits strictly regulated stablecoins such as Gemini Dollar and Circle's USDC. As a result, investors are unaware of what the potential receivables could be in the dealings of Tether. This is not a good thing. You want Tether to be transparent. We want it to be transparent because Tether is one of the largest cryptocurrencies. Despite not really even being a cryptocurrency, it's running on the Bitcoin blockchain on the Omni network. A lot of you guys probably didn't know that. Tether actually isn't its own blockchain. It's running on Bitcoin, to be quite frank. But what we see is that Tether has a very big problem with transparency. It always has. I don't want to say it always will, but there's a decent chance that it always will, and that's not really a good thing. Moving on here, let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of this story. Since its creation in 2014, more than 5 years ago, Tether has been a subject to consistent criticism from both investors and experts in the cryptocurrency sector for its lack of public audits. Last month, CCN spoke to Bitfinex, the company that oversees Tether, about its new terms of service, which we actually discussed on the channel. If I remember, I will link that video in the top right on a card, which read that every US dollar Tether is backed by cash and other receivables, but not 100% 100% in cash. They actually changed their terms. Go back and watch that video if you want to see what happened there. They used to say every Tether is always 100% backed by our reserves, which include traditional currency and cash equivalents, and from time to time may include other assets and receivables from loans made by Tether to third parties, which may include affiliated entities, collectively reserves. Now, excuse me, I said that this was the previous terms. These are the new terms as you'll find on their site. And this did happen about a month ago, which I don't know, jumping on into conspiracy theories, this seemed like a pretty easy adjustment to make. That was probably in relation to this loss of funds that Bitfinex had. If you guys are using Bitfinex, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but do keep this story in mind that your exchange just lost $900 million. That's one of the reasons I don't use Bitfinex. I've never been a big fan of Bitfinex, and I don't use it right now. And I'm going to keep it that way, especially following this story. How does it affect Bitcoin? Immediately after release, the New York Attorney General's report, the Bitcoin price fell, as we'll be discussing in the technical analysis portion here in today's video. But there was a part of this story that I really wanted to talk about, which is this right here. However, after Bitfinex allegedly sent $850 million to Crypto Capital Corp and did not get it back, it did not disclose the loss to investors and relied on Tether, which the New York Attorney General described as a cover-up. The filings explain how Bitfinex no longer had access to $850 million of commingled client and corporate funds that it had handed over without, this is the important part, without any written contract or assurance to a Panamanian entity called Crypto Capital Corp. They handed over $900 million without a written contract or any kind of legal assurance that they would get that money back or they would get some kind of service in return for that money. That is an absolutely absurd amount of money to send to someone and not have any kind of legal requirement. If I had $900 million and I gave it to someone, you better believe I would have the full force of the law on my side before I gave them a dime, let alone $850 million. This is a gigantic screw up, and it is really not looking good for Bitfinex or Tether. There's a reason I don't use Bitfinex and Tether, and I'm most certainly going to keep it that way following this story. Either way, let's go ahead and dive on into what this means for Bitcoin and the implications thereof, because it certainly does have an impact on the Bitcoin market. As we can see here, Bitcoin dived at most about 10% in the span of about an hour. This shows up on 2 candlesticks, but if we go in here to like the minute chart, this happened very quickly yesterday. As you'll see, Bitcoin jumped off the metaphorical cliff and the clown fiesta began. Bitcoin dived from around $5,500 all the way down to below $5,000 for a time before bouncing back up, and the bulls got recontrol for a little while. But while Bitcoin was diving, it did fall below this uptrend of support that we've been discussing for a while. A very important uptrend of support that we did not want to see broken, but now it has been broken. And I take that back. Actually, I wanted to see it broken because I want to see Bitcoin crash so that we can buy more Bitcoin, but we didn't want to see it broken if we wanted to see Bitcoin continue moving to the upside. I do still think it'd be healthy for Bitcoin to have some kind of correction, but I do want to point out that we can go ahead and redraw this uptrend something like this. So perhaps we haven't totally broken it yet. Perhaps we've just gone ahead and redefined the way that it looks. One of the main things I want to discuss in today's video also has to do with the RSI and the uptrend that we've been looking at over here on it, on the daily chart, because as you guys know, I've been talking about for a couple weeks now this uptrend on the RSI and what will happen when Bitcoin breaks it. In fact, in yesterday's video, I said that it was inevitable and it was a 100% fact that Bitcoin would eventually break this uptrend because, of course, it's an uptrend and RSI can only go up to 100. We were going to break it eventually, and it looks like today we actually broke it as the trend line was drawn before. Now, similarly with the chart trend line, you can go ahead and redraw this. We can move these lines around a little bit and finagle the chart and say that, oh yeah, we haven't broken it yet, not that big a deal. So if you redraw the chart line and you redraw the RSI support line like this, then yes, we haven't necessarily broken support. Yes, we do potentially have a little bit more room to go before we have a proper bearish breakout. But following this news, I think the next 2 to 3 days are going to be decisive for Bitcoin. Whether or not Bitcoin moves to the upside or moves to the downside, I think we're going to stop seeing that be delayed. I've been talking about a potential crash on Bitcoin for a long time and saying, yes, it's off in the future. It's going to come. We don't know exactly when. The bulls are very strong. Hard to predict when they're going to be done. But now that Bitcoin has actually got a little bit more bearish momentum following this news story, I think more than likely we're going to see that kind of decisive, explosive movement in the next couple of days, maybe the next 3 to 4 days at most. I think Bitcoin's either going to break bearish or Bitcoin's going to start moving to the upside and then continue this rally that seems to never end. But if Bitcoin is going to break bearish, it's probably going to do so in the next couple of days. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to, but I think it's more than likely that it will. We'll see what happens there. The RSI is overextended. Stochastic RSI is overextended. Many of the MACDs are bearish. Bitcoin's been in a rally for 2 months. The market structure from 2015 is calling bearishness. There's a lot of things saying that Bitcoin should have a correction sometime in the future. It's just hard to pinpoint exactly when. So if it doesn't happen this week and it doesn't happen into the beginning of next week, it's going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of time. We'll see when that happens. But guys, This is a really big story. This is the second big exchange screw-up this year. We, of course, had the Canadian exchange, Quadriga CX, lose access to hundreds of millions of dollars worth of funds. This is even worse. Luckily, Bitfinex is a gigantic exchange, and they can take a nearly $1 billion hit and still be fungible and still be solvent. But something like this is not what you want to see coming out of the cryptocurrency market, guys. I can't stress that enough. I know it sounds obvious, but the reason I'm saying you don't want to see this is not because of the viability of Bitfinex. It's not because of Tether. It's because of the image that this places on the cryptocurrency market. This makes cryptocurrency look absolutely terrible. If you were an institutional investor and you run a Fortune 500 company, and you were thinking about moving your company into the cryptocurrency market or opening a cryptocurrency branch or a blockchain branch in your company, and you see this kind of thing happen, what is this going to tell you? Oh, the people in the cryptocurrency market that run these exchanges that have control over the entire market have absolutely no idea what they're doing, and they run their businesses like they're running around the field like a chicken with its head cut off. That's what this looks like. This is terrible publicity. This is terrible marketing for the cryptocurrency market. This looks absolutely atrocious, and there's so many good things going on in the cryptocurrency market, and unfortunately, because of the way the news works, this is what everybody is going to be looking at. They're going to be reading this one sentence right here that jumped out at me. Where is it? This one sentence right here without any written contract or assurance. What on earth were you doing? $850 million. That's absurd. There's so many explicatives I want to use in this video, but I try to keep this family friendly. What on earth were you doing? That's ridiculous. I can't explain how annoyed I am by that. And I don't even work for Bitfinex. I'm not even the dude who surely got fired from this. Anyway, guys, Bitcoin is definitely in a very interesting position right now. It's in a very precarious position. Bull run's still probably going to come this year. I mean, this doesn't really impact that at all, to be totally honest. This is a short-term event. This will be old news in a week. It's not that big of a deal, but for the short term, this is a big deal, and it's really not something that you want to see. You don't want to see this kind of thing happen, of course. But nevertheless, sometimes things you don't want to see happen anyway. So guys, that's pretty much going to do it for today's video. But before we wrap up, I do want to mention that we are still running the Easter sale on the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. That will be running through Sunday. Saturday and Sunday, the last two videos of the course will be launching. Not the last two, but the last two of this sale. There's going to be over 50 videos in the course. Or actually, the plan is to have exactly 50 videos in the course when everything is said and done. Currently, there are 33. By this time next week, there will be 35. So if you guys have been looking to learn about technical analysis, I do highly recommend jumping on into CT2A. Like I said, guys, we've had hundreds of people go through the course. Nearly 100 people go through the course just this month. A great community that we're building. I have literally dozens of different testimonials I can throw up on screen. If I remember, I'll go ahead and throw a couple up right now. But if you guys are interested in joining CT2A, learning how to do technical analysis, I do recommend you go ahead and jump in now. Because, guys, one thing I haven't told you so far this sale is that after this sale wraps up, about a month after the sale wraps up, the price of the course is going to be increasing from $149 to $199 because we're adding so much more content. The course is literally worth that. The course is worth, honestly, over double what I'm currently charging for it. So the price will be increasing. So this is the last time that you are going to get the course at this price. You will never get the course for $119.20 after this sale ever again. This is the last time that will happen on this sale. So if you've been thinking about joining CT2A and you want to save some money, I do recommend doing that. Link is in the description. Anyway, guys, that's basically going to wrap it up for today's video. I am going to go ahead and finish this video and listen to the rain, which we've been listening to together for the last 15 minutes. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Tell me in the comment section down below what you think of the Bitfinex debacle and where you think Bitcoin is headed. But like I said, this is going to do it for today's video, guys. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.